Hello, good afternoon or good evening, as it may be, or even good morning or good night. So here I am again. Got about an hour and a half before my kids come home from school and invade and make everything very difficult for me. So I've been asked to do a recap of where we are so far. So yesterday I spent a whole bunch of time playing around with a technology called Firejail. Firejail is a process which sort of runs a sub-process in a CH root jail with various security like AppSec and various virtualization trickery to just hide it away from everything you possibly can. And so I would suggest you check out the Firejail project if you're interested in the kind of things we're doing or planning on doing. And basically yesterday was more me explaining where we are, spending a lot of time navel-gazing about the different techniques and trade-offs, and then ultimately just going, I'm just going to try and find the right set of command line parameters to Firejail to run a process in the correct way. So that's how yesterday went. So today, after the stream ended and I paced around the house a little bit and had a little bit of think, first of all, it's quite difficult, I'm discovering, to do the... Oh, let me move the microphone a bit closer to me, and that might actually improve the sound quality, and you will hear less of the school children opposite my house than me. So I found it quite difficult to do the kind of deep thinking stuff, because having to speak out loud to sort of let you know what I'm thinking about rather than just me staring into space or pacing around the room, which is my usual trick for thinking, has made it difficult. So I'm learning a lot about how to do this kind of thing, so bear with me. The upshot was I found a few things I could do yesterday to hack into the existing execution support just to try out Firejail locally and make sure it does what I want in the context of Compiler Explorer. And that's what I'm going to pick up on in a few minutes' time. First of all, I'm finishing off something I was doing before the cast started. That is, the other sort of main project I've been working on is the redo of the way things are installed, like compilers and stuff. And the main reason for that is that it's just 3,000 lines of bash files, and nobody really needs to maintain that. So I've got a much more procedural generated, programming language based solution. So on the right hand side you can see the bash that used to install all the decompilers, for example. On the right hand side is the more interesting, the more hopefully straightforward tag based configuration that drives a Python thing that is much more resilient to websites being down, as they sometimes are, or directory permissions not being right, that kind of thing. So that's what I was doing before. I just literally checked in a whole bunch of stuff, but Arthur O'Dwyer has been asking me to push a specific version of the patched Clang that he has. So he has a proposal, which is I can't remember the number. It's for trivially movable types, P1144. So if you're interested in whatever P1144 is, it's a decent way of optimizing a whole bunch of things for where objects have constructors and destructors, but if the compiler knows, it can just mem copy the innards of a file of an object from one place to another, and then it doesn't have to run the destructor in the old place. That can optimize things like moving vectors around and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. And he has an experimental build of Clang, which I just built, and so you'll get to see a little bit. Let me make this window a little bit larger. This is me now. Whoops, that's me pressing the wrong key. This is the administration node where everything on Compiler Explorer is like administrated from, and I've recently just upgraded this, which is cool. So it's a little bit faster than it was before. This is me paging up through all of the stuff that was happening from the build system, and the build system actually runs on yet another node in AWS, which is a much beefier node, and we only start it up to do the builds, and then we shut it back down again. So it's no longer, well, I hope it's not running. I had a nasty bill last month, and it was because I actually hadn't managed to leave it running too long. So no, it's definitely stopped. Hooray. CE is my little command line tool that allows me to do all my administration stuff. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use the new deployment system that is still working, still a work in progress, but works well enough to install compilers. And previously you just had to install all the compilers or none of the compilers. Now I can actually pick out the one that I want. So unfortunately I need to be root for other daft reasons, but this is the command here. I'm going to run ce_install, then a little tag that tells it what particular version of the compiler I am, and then I have to enable the nightly compilers. They are sort of like hidden behind a flag so that they don't come up by default. And this is one that's built nightly. So I should hit that button. Magic should happen. And there's a lot of things are being printed out there. What is that all about? Is already installed skipping. Well, I guess I'm going to have to do -- force. But I'm also interested, what the heck have I done? Oh, it's the old classic. I left a debug print statement in. How embarrassing. Yes, I'm going to get rid of that right now. Nothing to see here. Move along. I did run the tests locally, which is sort of a rarity. Let's do it again. I think nose test is quite good at hiding the output if there wasn't anything. So let's just remove extraneous output. Hit push. Git pull. Whoops. Git pull over here on the admin machine, and then I should be able to get that thing back. And -- force, yes. And I've just realized I am no longer alt tab to the right place over here. Oh, hello, Carol. Hello, everybody. Did you guys get the recap? Was everyone? I can go over it again while this is going if there are people who would like to know where we are. This is unrelated to yesterday's work. So the recap is I will be continuing with Firejail, which is my execution support jailing system. No, it's not mine, it's someone else's, and I just want to configure it and use it correctly so that I can run arbitrary pieces of code. And I'd like to use the same system, or maybe with subtle distinctions, to run the compilers as well, so I can get rid of all of the horrible attempts I have so far to sort of like jail the compilers. Now that's going to take a little while over there, this relocatable trunk, because we're actually extracting onto a network drive, and the network drive is pretty quick, but nowhere near as quick as a local drive. The reason it's a network drive, of course, is because, there we go, I'm on Tmux here, so I can switch between tabs on this remote machine, is because I can, if I go CE, not builder, instances, login, I can log into one of the actual instances that's running. This is the beta instance by default. And we look inside Opt Compiler Explorer. That's the same network drive, so it's mounted across all of the nodes, and it means that I can store however many, 340 gigabytes, actually minus 60 gig of padding, which I talked about yesterday. So about 280 gigabytes of compilers live on Opt Compiler Explorer. And it's convenient to be able to just update one place and have all the nodes as they fire up and fire up and come down. Just read the same information for the same compilers, which is great. But it does have drawbacks. If anyone's used Boost before now, and you typically see things like compile timeouts because reading all those header files from the network drive is slower. Thankfully, for some libraries, the excellent Partouf has made like a special case which rsyncs from the remote network drive to a local drive, and then it substitutes in the local path instead of the remote path in some cases. So that means those things are a bit faster. But as you can imagine, any other way of shipping 280 gig between ephemeral AWS instances is a bit of a pain. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. So we're still extracting over there. Let's make a bit more space, and let's get on with where I was before. So okay, now we're back in. So that previous project, this project here, is the Compiler Explorer image project, which is this giant grab bag of all the things that we use to administrate the system, including the scripts that update the compilers that are being deprecated in favor of this binary, this Python executable that is going to do the work for us. It has all of the Docker images, which are hopefully also going to go soon so that we can run everything just natively. It has all of the tooling that allows me to build the compilers. It has Terraform, which is a system for like configuring AWS the way I want it. And some of the other work that I'm doing has been to extract more and more things into Terraform so that I can more clearly divide up the AWS permissionings and make sure that the nodes that are running the compilers have the absolute minimum permissions possible in order to do their job, which is difficult to debug and easy to get wrong, of course, as you can imagine, but it's all in there. And also, if you ever wanted to make your own swag, your own wonderful mugs, there is an official Compiler Explorer shop, which you can go to. If I could remember the URL, I would. I always have to Google it, which is kind of embarrassing. It occasionally comes up in the ads at the top of Compiler Explorer. But if you just want to make your own, it's the wonder of open source. And the person who designed my logo was good enough to give me like full rights. So it's an open source logo as well. They all live in this project. as well. So you can go grab your SVGs or your pings or whatever and print your own t-shirts or hoodies or mugs or whatever. And if you become a Patreon, I will do it for you. I will send you some wonderful stickers. And news just in, I have just gotten some of these fridge magnets, which are pretty cool. Although, as I think some other people have discovered, not that many things are magnetic these days. All my appliances in the house are with the exception of my dishwasher, don't actually stick. So, which was very disappointing to my children when they were throwing things on there to begin with. Everything would fall off the fridge, and like, oh, I guess we're stuck with everything on the dishwasher. Okay, I think that's probably enough waffling. So I'm going to switch from the image project to the Compiler Explorer project itself and sort of get going. Now, this is the exec library. Let me just find it in here. It lives inside lib exec.js, and this exports two methods, execute and sandbox. And basically any single execution of anything, be it obj dump or the compiler or whatever, goes through execute. And when I want to sandbox an executable, i.e. I know ahead of time it is a user binary, I use the sandbox method here. Now I do want to replace execute with something which looks like a sandbox 2 optionally, but right now this is a great place for me to start hacking to wire in the Firejail executable. So first of all, I better go and make sure, okay, that is installed, excellent, and that pass, so I will just let Arthur know. So you should be on the CPP Lang Slack. It's the best place to hang out. That's now updated. I'm just letting him know. Okay. And back to YouTube so I can see your comments. Shirts with custom Compiler Explorer output. That would be fun. That would be very deep, wouldn't it? I don't know how you would get away with that. But yeah. Okay, so that's my administration of Compiler Explorer done for now. So let's go over to my local machine. So if you can see the green bar at the bottom of the terminal, it means I'm logged into the remote machine running tmux. I typically don't run tmux locally. I know people do, but that's my kind of visual cue that I'm local or remote. So locally here, Compiler Explorer image. We don't want to be in that directory. We're just going to go to Compiler Explorer. I'm running the fish shell for those who are interested. And yesterday, I think a lot of people were interested in some of the key presses I was using. So alt dot is my favorite key press. It works in both bash and fish, just slightly differently. Another thing that fish has over bash is that if you just run a directory, which are of course executable, it CDs to that directory. So that's what I've just done. Then I've just done dot Compiler Explorer. Another cool tool to have around is something called auto jump, which gives you a keyword J or a command J, and you can just type in any old thing, and it sort of partial matches your most commonly CD'd to directories and goes to it. So I'm extremely lazy about remembering where anything is on my computer. I just expect J, some small subset of it, to get me there. So anyway, that's how I get around on my computer. So I have modified libexec.js. That's interesting. But what I want to do is run make dev, because I'm actually going to test this, right? Let's run make dev. So make dev is different from the regular make in as much as it enables a few slightly slower options inside Webpack, and it looks for changes. If I change any of the front end stuff, it re-webpacks it up into a new bundle and serves that back up to the client. So this allows me to make changes and have them like dynamically reload. Webpack has been a mixed bag for us. We've had a lot of difficulty getting it working well, but it does seem to be the de facto standard for web apps these days of how to like essentially link and minimize the output of all the JS, and there's a lot of JS. So off it goes. And now we get to see. Locally, I have most of the compilers installed using the scripts as I'm testing them. So they're actually installed on my laptop right here. Not all 200 gig of it, but and Ruben presentation assistant. Yes, that's cool. That is a cool idea. So Ruben has just said that I can install the cool plugin for IntelliJ, which shows the keyboard shortcuts that I'm using and have pressed. Also, I think if I remember rightly, it berates you for not using the keyboard shortcut if you're using the mouse instead, which I'm sort of warm to. I like to know all the keyboard shortcuts, but your mileage may vary. Okay, so now we've got a Compiler Explorer instance running locally. I'm going to open up a web page, and I'm going to go to localhost 102.4.0. Oh, not localhost 102.4.0, and hopefully soon, I have my dev version of Compiler Explorer, and you can see that I've been hacking around with this before. Let me just comment out what I was doing before. So I have just the world's simplest main over here on the left-hand side. It doesn't hurt to make the whole thing a bit bigger. And I am just returning 3, and I have enabled the .a.out, execute the binary, woohoo, which has been in for like over a year. This is the one that you'll see Jason Turner using when he's demonstrating Compiler Explorer and actually executing the code. It's very rough around the edges, but I'm hoping to make the UI experience a bit better as we go. And okay, so 15 minutes in, and I'm getting an error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming on the thingy. So if it looks bad, can you let me know in the chat so that I can try and take evasive action, whatever that would be. Anywho, so we've got a.out running, and so down here we get the compiler return 0, hooray, and the program returned 3, even more hooray. So that's just my return 3 from over there. And what's happening behind the scenes then is, if I Alt-Tab back over to Compiler Explorer, somewhere deep in the bowels of the rest of this code, this sandbox call is being called with some parameters, and it's given the command to run, the arguments to pass to that command, and then some other options which are meta options to the execution system, like timeouts and other things like that. And you can see I've got a logger.info where I was trying to remember myself how the thing worked, and I'm not above printf debugging everything, which is not the best thing in the world, but it gets me by. So we can actually see over here on the right hand side the log output. And here, Firejail with -- quiet, all this nonsense here. And then the output is max that. And then the configuration was max output equals 32K and timeout milliseconds equals 2000. So that's being passed on. And let's see what's happening. So I'm taking the command that's been given. And yesterday, if you recall, we discovered that we want to have Firejail run in a way where it has its own private home directory. And that in that private home directory, the content should be anything that we want to present uniquely to that instance that isn't shared with any other running executable. So the way that I would ideally like to do this is that I would like to use the temporary directory where the files are written to and where the compiler runs and where the output is placed as the home directory. Now, at the moment, there isn't any kind of hooks in the rest of the system, the rest of Compiler Explorer, to pass that kind of information along. So what I'm doing instead is I'm using, or abusing, the fact that I know if the sandbox command is being called, if sandbox function is being called, then the command that it's being run is the one that lives inside that directory. So I'm kind of cheating here just to get myself a bit farther down. And then once I'm happy that this is the right way to go, I'll go back and actually make this explicit. Thank you, folks, for letting me know that everything is looking okay. I would tend to ignore whatever YouTube says over there. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to extract the path and then the name of the command. And I'm going to use the path as the private home. And as you can see down here, that's exactly what I'm doing. So all of these are the options that we discovered yesterday when we were running through. I don't think I explained them all that well. Quiet obviously just means don't print out a load of stuff about Firejail. That's not what the user will be interested in. Caps.drop equals all means drop all capabilities. And that really does really substantially reduce the amount of nasty things that the process can do. Give it a fake host name. Not that it particularly matters, but it was easy to do. Give it a private and empty or minimally populated /dev and /temp. Disable networking. That's probably the most important one of all. I don't want anybody running some crazy bot farm. And if they can't talk to the outside world, there's a limited amount of useful work that people can do. The IPC namespace here gives it its own unique interprocess communication namespace so that you can't write two executables running at once that might be able to talk to each other. Then this again, it's the comments here are sort of tell you everything you need to know. We're doing -- private equals exec path. So that will mount, that's a private home directory. Gosh, sorry, everyone's communicating with me at once over here, and the other thing, I can hear them in my headphones, which I think I've disabled elsewhere. That's my wife texting me. I better check just in case. Those of you who were listening to me last week, about this time. The reason I do it at this time is that my wife's actually out at work, and she works at Lincoln Park Zoo, which is a fantastic zoo downtown at Chicago. She's just sent me this. I have no idea if you'll even remotely be able to see that, but it's a beautiful picture of a polar bear. Totally nothing to do with Compiler Explorer, but lovely nonetheless. Where were we? Yes. -- private equals exec path. So what this is saying is create a home directory, a fake home directory, which points at this path. And that exec path is the path where the sandbox executable is going to be run from, which I'm just sort of inferring is the temporary directory that the user, that the compilation process dumped the results into. And then I'm whitelisting opt compiler explorer, which means that the regular /opt will be empty, and only /opt /compiler explorer will be allowed to be there. I'm sorry, clearly English is difficult for me right now. So, having done those options, having got those options, I concatenate. Oh, sorry, very important. Then I then use / and then the name of the executable. So that's like saying /foo in a directory where you've already taken out the /temp/blah. And then I replaced the command with Firejail. So we're just running Firejail with all of those options instead of whatever we were actually asked to do. And that's what this O nonsense was all about. And if we go back over now to the output, hopefully that will give some idea. We can see that this sandbox execution via Firejail command args comes out with tump compiler explorer -compiler, all that stuff. So there is the temporary directory, which will be mounted as the home directory, and output.s, rather amusingly, they're sort of behind the scenes, although it should be, .s files are obviously normally the source files, because it's in executable mode, that actually is a binary. And so we're going to take that, we're going to extract /tump/blah, that bit up to here, and say, hey, mount that as the home directory in Firejail. And then we're going to run ./output.s with all these other magical things set. And then I actually delegate, the last thing I do is I delegate to the normal execution process, which is further up in the file here, to actually execute the Firejail command. And then I get the benefit of all of the cool stuff that does already. If we page up, it's non-trivial, as you can imagine, to run a command and sort of have some degree of protection about what's going on, about protecting the maximum amount of output, about this is the wrapper. So wrapper was the old system that would wrap the compiler with like an LD preload thingamajig. That can go, and I'll be glad to see the end of that. And then there's a number of bits and pieces. So it's not as trivial as you might like. But nevertheless, it is working. So let's go and play with it a bit. We can see, yeah, we ran all this stuff, and it timed out after 2,000 milliseconds because when I first ran it, I had that sleep in there. I was playing around earlier with this. So let's see what we can do. What can we do in our jail? So I can run system, obviously, and an empty system apparently doesn't do anything. But obviously, if I start putting commands in here, over in the output pane, we're going to see some information about what's going on. Now that to me is already a sort of a red herring or a red flag. There's this strange, great big long file name _exec, and I've got that on my list to investigate. But if I recall correctly, this is a tag file that we create and added to make this directory unique for caching purposes when we cache some of the results out onto S3. So behind the scenes, we do actually generate an MD5 sum, and I think this is it here. And I don't know why it's a file here. It's an empty file, if I remember rightly. And the way that I found that out last time was to just like literally system cat star, and then we can say, oh no, it's a file with the name, the contents undefined in it. So this is quite funny. I'm just catting all the files in that directory. And yeah, obviously I get to see the source code itself in a sort of world's most weird quine. Compiler Explorer quines, you saw them here first. And then there's the ELF file itself. So I could actually now use this in some crazy way to download the ELF file, but this will be limited in output size because there's only 32K's worth of output. That's interesting. But what else do I get? Can I ls/? Yes, and you start looking through this stuff, you think, okay, well, some of these things will be fun for me. So let's see what's in cat, etc. password. And I guarantee you, I will get many, many people telling me about this. And I had somebody mention this today, and all these are obviously, people are in very good faith saying, hey, I think I found a security hole in your system, which is very commendable of them to look into. But and please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the password file has not contained anything sensitive for the best part of 20 years. I remember at university, which was in like the early mid 90s, this problem had already gone. There were some systems that didn't have shadow password files, and that was, you know, great fun to game and run crack on. But nowadays, it's the shadow file that contains the actual passwords. And if I can actually type properly, you'll see that I shouldn't be able to see etc. Shadow. Hello, cat. What? All right. Now, another thing obviously would be, what if I could get access to sudo? Well, that's a nice thing. So sudo is not going to work as well. That's good news. Sorry, my cat is disturbing me behind me. And what if I were to try and write to some files? Let's try, you know, echo moo to /temp/moo. Apparently that's fine. Let's just make sure. If I actually look on my local machine, there isn't a moo file. Good, there isn't. Actually, it's very surprising to me actually that there isn't a moo file, because moo is the kind of typical /temp name that I use. So I'm actually very surprised. But my temp directory is full of all these scary looking things, and presumably, well, I know this is going to work. /temp. My /temp is empty inside the jail over here. Now, I'm sure there are other sort of things I need to think about. What do I get? If I do ls/home, should just see Matthew, I think. Yeah, this is something we identified yesterday. Is the username of the process is maintained as the home directory in the jail. I don't think that's a problem. I think home ce-user or whatever it is actually on the node is fine. What is it? Ce user. Who am I? Oh, Ubuntu. Yeah, sure. I don't think anyone's going to steal anything particularly interesting from me running Ubuntu. So, all in all, I think this is looking pretty good. Now, obviously, various attack vectors would be having sleep in here. And that's just tying up the execution resource for a while, and I obviously limit the number of executions that can be pending at once, but we handled it reasonably well here. It was killed after processing time was exceeded, which is currently set to 2 seconds. It occurs to me actually like good old-fashioned fork bomb might be a problem. Now this is going to be a tough one to test live, isn't it? Because if I do succeed in fork bombing myself, then I'm guessing that my computer will probably need a bit of a reboot, well, certainly this will upset the CPU enough to probably kick you folks off from being able to watch me. So let's have a think about that. And if anyone has any other suggestions of the kinds of attacks that a malicious person might do, then let's have a look. So limits CPU. The maximum each can consume. Okay, CPU seconds rather than EPU time is how many seconds the CPU has been in use and does not necessarily directly rate the elapsed time. So obviously that should help. I mean, it's definitely a mitigating factor, right? If I say that your overall timeout is 2 seconds and your CPU timeout is some multiple of that, like you can get 1 CPU for 2 seconds, so wall clock time 2 seconds and 1 second of CPU time, then it does limit to some extent the amount of damage you can do, but it doesn't limit the number of sub processes that could be created, which could still be a problem. Another thing up here is actually quite interesting. We can set the address space size, which might be interesting. Now, one reason why we might not want to restrict the address size is because if you're using the address sanitizer, which I'm hoping people would want to do, let's just turn this on actually while we're here. Memory. Is that going to work? Oh, F-sanitize, sorry. F-sanitize. Is it? What is it? F-sanitize equals. I can never remember. Darn you. I mean, undefined is definitely one, but I'm looking for the memory address sensor. What was it called? Hi, Chady. Address sanitizer. Isn't it sad? Sad that I can't remember. Yes. Enter address sanitizer. Address. Sanitizer equals address. Did I not type that in? I thought I typed that in. Did I just mistype address? Evidently I did. So there's our address sanitizer running. Now that... Oh, woo! Oh, isn't that interesting? SIG-sys, bad system call. Well, well, well. What do we get in the output over here? So... nothing untoward happened in this. Let's do it again. Just because I'm feeling a bit... Cool. So I wonder... That's probably some of the filtering that Firejail does. So I think I need to take a note of that. And the best place to note it is not on a piece of paper that I will lose, like all the other things that are around me on my desk here, is probably to put a to-do here. I'm quite a fan of code to-dos, although typically in my day job, I will also attach a GitHub issue to the to-do so that we've got some other way of tracking the to-dos. But let's take that. If running under address sanitizer. Oh, my computer is having a bad time right now. It's about 3 minutes behind me. We get this. Another interesting thing here is it's saying fish./output.s terminated by signal SIG-sys. So that means it's running my regular shell before it runs the process. It's passing those commands as options to the shell, which I'm not a fan of. I prefer it to run them directly. So I wonder if there's a way of telling Firejail not to do that. Is process address space already randomized in Linux? Yes, it should be. My understanding is it is on network stuff. I don't think we've been talking so much about network stuff, Arubaros, but just everyone telling me it's addressed, thank you. The network stuff in my instance here is basically just don't allow the process to have networking, because I don't want people to run networking code. I don't think that's as important, and I may upset some people who's trying to test Boost Beast, but Compile Explorer is more about like, hey, I wonder if this little bit of code works, not can you please compile my entire project and then run a network app on it. But I could probably shift on that. No, sanitizer is not what I was looking for in an LSCPU. It is... how do I forget how you tell if ASLR is on? ASLR? I don't think it's in CPU. Nah. Okay. I don't know if address-based sanitization is definitely on. I'm thinking it probably is. But SIG-sys is an interesting one there for the address-based sanitizer. So ASAN, anyway, the way behind the scenes, the way that ASAN works is that for every 8 bytes of memory, regular memory, there is a shadow copy somewhere else, and it uses a giant amount of virtual address space, not real actual memory, because it's, if you allocate 20 meg over here, you're going to have 2 and a bit meg of address sanitizer shadow memory, but it's a long way away, and there's a trivial mapping between the two spaces, so that for every byte in real process space you can very quickly determine where the shadow byte is, and that's how the system tracks whether a byte is okay to be read or written to and all that kind of stuff, which I guess we could actually show here in the code. If I were, for example, to just do char star naught. Never write code like this, by the way. And I'm sure the compiler's going to whinge at me for good reason. Yay! What we should see in here is the code generated by... Oh, it's not been inline, but it's calling address ASAN report store. And even though the optimizer's on, sometimes you see it. Maybe it's doing it there. Test. No, maybe not. Yeah, I was hoping to see like the inline, because the address sanitizer stuff can actually be inlined pretty well, which means that the checks are done pretty straightforwardly. Anyway, all right, we're getting totally off base here, because the thing I'm interested in now is why is that a SIG-sys? That's one thing. And I wonder how we can tell. SIG-sys, is there anything in here? Okay. Add system call. There we go. Okay, seccomp. So blacklist the default list and the syscalls So it's something to do with the seccomp. Interesting. So can we print the seccomp filter for sandbox or by PID? So that's interesting. I can actually go and find out what the heck's going on inside the security filter, but I wonder if there's a way of debugging it. Enable seccomp filter and blacklist the syscalls in the default list at default. See, that's interesting. I don't know if that's on. It sounds like we should probably have it on. And I think this would just make things worse, but that's interesting. So if I put -- seccomp in here, if I could type it would help, wouldn't it? And we just got confirmation from Arthur that everything has updated, and he's confirmed it looks good on his build, which is always nice to know. Okay, so I just made that change, and we should notice over here, yep, it's restarting, because make dev also will restart if any of the JavaScript files that constitute the backend change. It restarts the backend, so that's another cool thing that it does. So now it's finished. I'm just going to click reload here, and we're still getting compiling ... I wonder if this is, there it is. Okay, bad system call still, obviously, because we're still running with address sanitizer, and we knew that wasn't working from before. So if I just run O2, it does actually work. Let's check our ls/home. Excellent. And I probably should, it would behoove me to go and look at what other files there are inside the seccomp filter. Black folder and the syscall. So it looks like we could do all sorts of things, but it would be interesting to know. Okay, trace log, auditing blacklisted files and directories. Trace, open, access, and connect system calls. V's whitelist. Tunnel. We don't care about that. We don't want a sand. X11 equals none. That sounds like something we probably want to do. Not that I'm running X on the machines, but okay, that's interesting to me. I would love to know why we're getting bad system call here. I wonder what system calls are being banned by default, if any, or if this is some other thing. Maybe it's one of the caps bits. I guess we can do a bit of experimentation here, right? Let's put sanitize equals address back in here. Let's go back to our IntelliJ, and I'm going to just make this run. We're not going to drop any capabilities. We won't have a private dev or a private temp. I doubt it's those. We won't have that or that. We will have no network. Okay, so by process of elimination, which is an inglorious way of working this out, we're going to find out what flag it was causing. And I'll put these side by side if I ever get control of my computer back. Okay, there we are. So you move over here, and then, oh, I've got 2 man pages up. Going bonkers. There we are. So it's restarted, and we'll restart, and drum roll, please. Okay. Processing time exceeded, it said this time, which is intriguing. Let's run it again and see if it runs faster. Okay, still getting SIG-sys with bad system call. So it's none of those flags that we're currently passing, which I would have put money on it being the drop caps thing. Now we have to work out how we're going to debug Firejail itself and work out, because I really would like address sanitization to work. Seems like a bit of a weird tangent to go off on, but if Firejail won't allow me to do the things that I want it to do, then it doesn't seem like it would be a good fit for what we're doing. So I know I wrote a to-do so that I could get on, but I'm terrible. I found my little thing and I want to work out what's going on, rather than just moving on with my life. So back to the man page of Firejail. Either copy of it. I'll just go down to 1. Oh, well that's cool. We've got an rlimit nproc over here. So that one of the things that we can change is the number of processes that can be created. That sounds like a great thing to do. That would limit the fork bomb capabilities. So I'm just going to put to do r limit nproc equals some number as well, and test a fork bomb. But as I described before, I won't be writing and running a thingy, a fork bomb while we go, because that seems like a waste of my time, and will possibly ruin. Oh, and limit f size and number of files. All of these look like good things to also add into the mix. Oh, come on. I didn't mean that. There is a dash dash debug flag in Firejail. You beauty, that's a brilliant idea. Thank you, Chady. Debug syscalls. Ha 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 ha! So there is. Let's give that one a go. Oh, this is useful. You see, this is one of my favourite things to do at work, is to pair program. And yep. Oh golly, my machine really is crawling at the moment. I wonder what's going on. Okay, so let's get that back up. That's restarting, and I get over to this. Yeah, the pair programming is one of those amazing things, because although it can be frustrating because you have to talk out loud, as I am doing now, to explain what you're doing to the person who sat next to you, you get this amazing kind of feedback, and things like what Shady's just said, and Christopher Sir's just said dash dash tracelog is a flag too. Yes, that sounds like another thing to obviously put on there. So let's see what we get out of running it this way. Somewhere. Well, isn't that a doozy? We run it with dash dash debug, and apparently everything was fine. That makes me deeply skeptical that we were actually seeing the right thing before, which is a big pain. Oh, just all the syscalls that it knows, and the number. I thought it was the number of times it's been called, but of course this program hasn't called truncate 76 times. So yes, debug, yes, debug. Alright, so we probably want to do, like you suggest, trace log. But it says blacklisted files and directories. That's my worry. I'm going to give it a go, because sometimes these things aren't right, of course. So let's do dash dash trace log. And let that do its thing. It's really going. My laptop's name, by the way, is Kernel K. And if you can work out the theme of all my computers from that, then let me. There's a prize in it for you. Let me know, and I'll send you a sticker, because it's too obscure. Yes, thank you, Christopher. Yeah, it's like a dash dash help type thing. All right, let's give this one a go. And well, that's interesting. I've seen this before, and I've ended up using static asand just to get rid of this warning, but that's not what I was expecting. We're running the same thing. Program returned 1. I mean, okay, let's just do static lib asand, I think is the magical flag. Still bad system call. Gah! Right, back to the manual. ML algorithms. This is, I'm afraid, not ML algorithms. This is something very different. I mean, the only learning that's being done is by me reading the man pages here, which is one of the weirdest things to be doing on live, as it were. So what else do we get with debug? Debug caps, no, syscalls, protocols, just print. Oh, there is just a dash dash debug, exactly like Chady said right at the beginning. Sorry, Chady, I didn't actually read exactly what you said. You said debug, and that was the right thing to do. So let me go back to that. Reloading. I should probably get rid of some of those compilers. In fact, actually, the single longest thing that Compiler Explorer nodes do during startup is just run dash dash version on every compiler they know of, and there are quite a few. All right. And Are we still getting that, or is it still going? It still says it's compiling. I think it's going to time out. Yeah, I'm afraid you're in the wrong chat, I think, Aveline. Invalid -- debug command line. Oh, that's a pain. Maybe I should have read the manual a bit more first. Print debug messages. Well, that doesn't seem likely, does it? What did I do wrong? Did I miss out a comma? No, quiet -- debug. Maybe you can't do it with quiet as a wag. Hey, Oliver. Profile equals test.profile. Now, what does that profile do? I think that profile is like a built-in system used to manage using security profiles, which I haven't looked into yet, but that's probably a good idea. It says it tries to use based on the name of the application. Well, that's clearly a bad idea. We definitely don't want it to try and infer from the random file name what security profile. So probably -- no profile is the right thing to do here, because we should be able to build everything we want as a command line or separately as a profile once we work out that that profile is the thing we need. So let's try some combination of key presses that amount to no -- no profile. I'm remembering a comma here. And then, oh, that was you? Oliver, that's very strange. Okay, thank you, Christopher. We'll go and check that. It should be in... His comment was varlog syslog. Let's have a look in my varlog syslog. And all you get to see is that my laptop is overheating right now. And audit, output to S. Sig equals 30. I mean, that just looks like it complained. It's not obvious to me that tells me why it is problematic. Okay, that should have finished. Let's just retry with all the turn them on. Hooray! Okay, we have all the informations turned on now. LD program. Did this program return 3? Okay, so it appears that the no profile has made this work, which is great. But let's test that, because we changed too many things at once and it wasn't very scientific, was it? So let's get rid of the -- no profile and see if that will tell us what aspect of the profile was preventing address sanitizer from running. And then we might have to make a call about whether that's something we're okay with. Yes, auto-selecting user bin Fisher's shell. I don't like the shell. It is not... I don't like it. Oh, sorry, HTTP request failed because I haven't given it enough time. Let's go and watch it over here. It is from Danger Mouse, Olafura. You win. You win. All of the other computers are named after Danger Mouse. My old desktop was called Danger because it was extremely dangerous. It was broken. Half the things didn't work in it. And my eldest son's called Mouse. Penfold is my younger son's computer. We've got all of the other things around it. The new series, by the way, is awesome. If anyone is interested in a good, funny kids cartoon series, which is short, like, you know, pre-bedtime, okay, you have 10 more minutes, Danger Mouse is brilliant. Okay, what do we win? What do we pad with this? Mounting all this, disable. Oh my lordy, I see. I think we're probably getting an awful lot of goodness. We're definitely getting a lot of goodness from those profiles. I'm going to have to investigate profiles now. Darn. Yay. So, definitely need some kind of profile. And I'd like to ship a profile, if I'm going to do this, I'd like to ship a profile as part of Compiler Explorer so everyone can see what it is, which is a mixed blessing, of course, because it means the bad guys get to see it too and work out what they can do. So far, though, no one really bad has tried to hack all this. So, but, you know, naivety and all that. So let's see if we can see what happened. Bad system call. Starting application. No new proofs. Dropping all capabilities. Well, this appears to be the filters that it's placing syscall number, socket. Golly, there's some magic going on in there, isn't there? This is pretty sweet stuff now. Do we need a compiler explorer for this, do you think? we can put our code and see the BPF, eBPF sequence emitted. Looks pretty sweet, doesn't it? Is that 1, 2, 3, and then 4 bytes there? Oh, line op. That's so cool. So cool, but also like distracting. Very cool. Are we expecting execution with configurable command line, stood in, stood out? Exactly, yes. That is the ideal. Oh, okay. Thank you, Christopher. 101 is the 41. That's ptrace, which is blacklisted. Wonderful. Thank you. Haha. You see, all I do is bumble around and talk, and then people cleverer than me tell me the answer. So, address sanitizer, barrel system call needs ptrace, which is disabled by default profile. All right, then we can go back and have a think about that. Maybe we'll take the default profile and we'll like disable, comment out things in the profile to allow for this to happen. But maybe I needed to take a rain check on that. Maybe I'm a bit overly hopeful that we'll actually be able to run this. Most of the nodes don't have all that much RAM in them. And again, although address sanitizer only uses a lot of virtual address space, maybe that's something in itself to worry about. Okay, that's pretty cool. Well, thank you very much. That's brilliant. Why is there a phone in startup applications? It does seem rather weird. I think it's trying to do ANSI color or something like that. Like this doodad here looks for all the world like ANSI color, which we don't support perfectly. It kind of seem to be doing it up here, although I think that's stood out. Sorry, stood air is colored red. Colored red. I will put my teeth in. So that is interesting to me. And presumably all this JEQ 15 blah LD data syscall numbers, all of this stuff is the kill list, and one of these up here, one of these things here will be the did you say 100? 101 is the 41. What is 101 in hex? 64 plus 32 plus 4. Or I have a whole computer in front of me that can tell me that answer to that using, 65. Oh, it was close. You see, I thought it would need... So in here somewhere we should see a 65. Indeed we do. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. So there is our line. And now we have to work out where that is coming from. And that's coming from the default profile inside Firejail. Syscall equals 101, and thank you. Right now, I suppose I should have gone back to this to actually learn something rather than just take for granted. Yeah, 101 is a different syscall, but yeah, okay. But we're definitely calling syscall. Let's do syscall 101. 1010. No, thank you, keyboard. Oh, Win32K looks this unlikely. Searchable syscall. I mean, like here, 101, ptrace is looking pretty promising. 101. This is x86-64, so it may be the 32 versus 64 divide. Ptrace. No, it's ptrace. You're right. Thank you, Christopher. Sorry. Yeah, this is the problem with me, the latency between the two of us, or the two of us, the N of us, where I'm you get to correct my foolishness rather too late for me to expose myself for too long. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Back to the man page. Yes, man, Firejail, just making sure I'm not proliferating shells. I have a habit of getting 30,000 shells by the end of it. So let's search for profile. Each profile defines blah, blah. It finds the security. If a program starts bin bash examples. Okay. So profile equals etc. Firejail. So what do we got in etc. Firejail. Whoa! There's a lot of things in there. Default.profile. Oh, look at this. This is much better than me trying to put together my own daft set of command line options. I mean, some of these obviously have to be, they're dynamic, but this looks far more sensible. Generic GUI profile. I don't think we want that. I don't think we want any GUI. Disable password manager. So again, this Firejail is brilliant, and it's made more for like jailing applications on your own computer if you don't trust running a browser, or if you want to run a real incognito mode, browser, then you can completely and utterly what's the word? Jail the process, and then of course you know that your things aren't being saved. So this looks like a much better way to write all of the information, or the majority of the things that we've currently got over here. So why don't we do that? Where would that live? That's an interesting problem. Probably in etc, but I don't think I publish etc. So I need a place where, or do I push etc? Of course I push etc because there's config in here. Yes. God. All right, then there's all the trillions of lines of configuration there. So why don't we try writing a Firejail profile? So we're going to call this sandbox.profile. It's text for now, IntelliJ. Oh, and you decided to bring your sibling application to the front. That's not useful at all. Yes, add it to Git. That would be lovely. And don't. All right, you're going in the doghouse. Plugin supporting startup profile. I don't think this will be the same profile that you think it is. So let's steal that as a starting point. Good old copy, paste, and change afterwards pattern. That can go away. So persistent local customizations, default.local. Let's see what's in that. Default.local. There is no such file. Locate default.local. Thank you, Christopher. Setcomp.keep equals ptrace probably would be yes. Yes, thank you, Oliver, as well. Yeah, Firejail. So people you've heard of Firejail before. I picked it because it seems to be very actively maintained, despite the website being in a weird place. So there doesn't appear to be a default local. When it does .local, it appears to be persistent local customization. So let's try globals.local. No, we don't have that as well. Let's just check that it isn't in there. Global time.profile, no. Okay, so I don't think any of those are there. Generic GUI, depending, you can enable some of the things before. So let's disable common.inc. I don't want to rely on things that aren't shipped directly with Compiler Explorer. So let's have a look at what disable common.inc looks like. Holy cow. So, a lot of these are blacklisting files in the home directory. Now, our home directory by design will not contain any of the real home directory things. So I think, let's just go through all of this and find anything. KDE sockets, that's an interesting one. GNOME, systemd. Again, there's no systemd running. It's all going to be in that. But where does run user live? It's got run user. I don't think. I presume that's like var run. Thanks for that. Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting one. So I don't think we've got any problems with KDE because we don't run KDE on the servers, as you might be sure. But user share applications Vera crypt. Not a problem. User share, we probably don't want to have. Thank you, Chady. Yeah, we probably don't want to have a lot of this stuff. Now, that blacklisting of var things is probably worthwhile stealing. But it does make me worry because this is a lot of files in here that one has to keep in mind. So. Disable comment var run actpid docker.sock. Yes, that's clever. Yeah, a lot of things in here. But again, most of this stuff. I wonder if this is how sudo gets pulled out. Yeah, there's how sudo is getting pulled out. That is pretty sweet, you know. That is pretty sweet. So now I've got a quandary. Do I just accept this because it would be easier to keep the file exactly as is and rely on that being part of the installation of Firejail itself and that being safe? Maybe I do. or do I copy it locally and run the risk of hitting an issue along the way where somewhere something comes up that I haven't thought about. There's no whitelist in there, as Oliver just asked. So, all right, I think as a good starting point, I'm going to leave that disable comment there. Now, the disable password manager, I think, is probably... Let's just take a look at what it... Password manager. I don't have a password manager, so I'm going to say that's safe. Disable programs. What the heck is that? Programs.inc. Oh, all the config and things. Okay, again, we're not running any of these. Anything in home here is unnecessary. Although it doesn't hurt, I guess. It really doesn't hurt. XDG, right? No. So caps.drop all. All right, let us... so setcom, that's where we're getting that setcom from. All right. So I'm going to split this vertically. Maximize, and we're going to go through all of the things that I was writing myself. So IPC namespace, we want that one. Hooray. We want private dev. We want where is it? The no caps. We got caps.drop all already. That's good. We're going to do net none. I'm cool with no 3D, no dbus, no DVD, no groups. Well, I don't know about that. No new privs, sure. No root, absolutely. No sound, yes. No TV, sure. No UF, yes. No video. Protocol, no. I mean, we're not allowing anything anyway. Shell, none. Hey, there you are. That's a good... This is brilliant. I should have looked at this before. How daft. Oh, I wish I could spell sometimes. Definitely. Some kind of profile. Yes. Well, I'm doing that, aren't I? So let's pass -- profile equals, and then we're going to have a path to. So etc. sandbox.profile, which is a terrible place to put it. I will move it in a second, but I want to actually just see if I can even get to that file first of all. Let's put hostname in here. Why would we not? Hostname ce-node. We've got private dev. We need private temp as well. All right, so let's get rid of the ones. Caps, gone. Hostname, private dev, net equals none, gone. IPC namespace, gone. Secomp, gone. Private stuff down here is great. Oh, disable MNT. Yeah, why would you allow that? Right, these private bin is more interesting. We'll come back to these. So a private can't be put there because that needs to be dynamically generated. So private by itself just gives you an empty private home directory. We want to actually specify a home directory which comes from the from the path of this particular compilation. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Private bins, maybe. Private etc. none. Now, that's an interesting one. Private temp, we've done that one. So to do, think about these. We'll come back to those. We obviously don't want no exec / home because we're running things out of home. We don't want no exec / temp. I guess we could. Doesn't hurt anybody. Come on, computer. Private, etc. None. That might be something worth doing for all the reasons that people mailing me my etc. password file. But I think some things actually want it. So like libc might open it up and do something useful with it. Private lib, I think that one is not fully supported. But what memory deny write execute sounds scary. Whitelist and read-only opt compiler explorer. That also should be in here, actually. That's exactly what we need to do. So let's try those in here. This is the whole point of this being. So whitelist opt compiler - explorer read - only that. Wunderbar. Okay. Oh, I like that. I wonder if it will work. So I'm going to actually take the to-dos and I'm going to move those over here, paste them, and handle the fact that clearly this is not the same. No. There we go. Right. Let's see where that leaves us then, shall we? So off it goes, doing its thing, restarting, restarty. We'll bring this back up again. And then presumably, yes, so we will be able to put the ptrace seccomp thing. Oliver is saying, what memory deny write execute means? Is that I think that's either a statement or it may be a question. Oh, install a seccomp filter to block attempts to create memory mappings that are both writable and executable, to change mappings to be executable, or to create executable shared memory. I see. Thank you, Oliver. That makes sense. We probably want to deny that. I don't know if that may cause things like address sanitizer to go wrong, but we'll turn it on. Okay, so we're up, we're running. We click either button. What happens? We get broadly the same output, which is okay. And is it reading sandbox.profile? Hooray! We're actually reading the right file. That's a good starting point. And we've got the seccomp filter, and we're still getting program return 255 because we're still seeing a problem with the thing. So I'm going to scroll back up here. Seccomp.keep equals ptrace. Let's do it. Let's see if it works. Seccomp.keep space ptrace appears to be the syntax for this file, which I'm sort of inferring rather than canonically stating as fact. It's exciting. It's exciting. I'm running out of tea. It's unfortunate. I'm running out of time as well. We've got about 20 minutes before the invasion of the small godbolts. They will go to the aforementioned school. So I'm gonna. There is the school, right? It's really not a long commute for them, so they actually make their own way back. Oh, let's just see if I can put you back. Hopefully I'm not. Oh, I should have bashed the camera around too much. Okay, more filling for time. Drum roll, please. Starting application. Program returned. Oh. Networking features disabled and configured. That's fine. That's the display equals 0. I guess we've got environment variables actually. Let's just put a note here. To do check no dodgy M's left. I don't think there are any environment variables that have secret information in them, but I wouldn't swear to it. Dropping all capabilities. Okay, so we were able before to find in here the value in this list of seccomp things. Create the new ld.so.preload file. Crikey. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. I'm glad I didn't try and write my own. I think I said yesterday that Melpon has done a sterling job of making his own, or their own, thingamajig, sandbox environment for Wandbox. But that's interesting. We don't seem to have anywhere near as many blocks of code as we had before. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. But we've got a syscall number if it's JEC03, syscall number, read exec va, PR control, ptrace. OOC, false OOD, ret allow. So that seems like it's working, maybe. But it's interesting that we actually have, instead of it being 65 like it was before. Yeah, that's it. That's right. So everything else. So Christopher's just saying, like, this false. If it's equal to ptrace, go to the next instruction. If it doesn't, go to OOD. How I'm reading this. I mean, I've never read this stuff before, but it looks that way. and it says ret allow. So it looks like it's doing the right thing, but we're not seeing that. So, but then actually, program returned this. Have we got any evidence that it's getting that sig thingamajig again? I don't think we have. Let's go to the var log thingamajig. Too many thingamajigs. I'm sorry. Okay. Syscall equals 12 is the new bogey, it would seem. So let us rerun this and make sure that's what we do see over here. Firejail, monitoring PID 6, blah de blah. Syscall equals 12. Right, well we found Linux syscall 12. And I think that was in decimal, right? Sys 12. Yeah. Oh, don't show 10 entries. That's rubbish. Chadur. That seems rather restrictive if we can't chadur. So I wonder if by moving to the sec comp and allowing one thing, we've or in amongst the storm of all of the other changes. Oh, it is 65. Yes. Yes. All right. I'm playing. Hi, Neil. Or Niall. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced your name. I know that there is. So, Burke. Yes. The 6502 instruction, I presume you mean there, not the S. Brook kind of thing. Okay, sorry. It would be much more cool if it was a 6502 instruction. All right, I'm killing off the setcomp here. I'm going to kill off setcomp and setcomp.keep ptrace and just make sure we're back in an environment where I understand what's going on. The difference syscalls I can only assume is between x86 and x64. They differ, but I couldn't swear to that. Okay, what do we get this time? So I theoretically have just disabled all of the. That was too quick. Program return 3. Okay, good. Right. So we can run the address sanitizer. Hooray! Provided we turn off setcomp, and if we turn on setcomp, we can't. So I'm going to just turn on setcomp, and I'm going to turn on setcomp.keep ptrace, and then I'm actually going to get rid of the sanitize equals address and static libasan, and it would be nice, wouldn't it, if I actually. Let me clone the compiler. Where's the thingy? Add new clone compiler. Okay, I'll put this over here, and then we'll have one with the sanitizer on and one with the sanitizer not on. Come on. All right. So even this one now, the one without the sanitizer on, is getting program return 255, presumably because of the setcomp stuff that's going on. And any number of these things apparently are being blocked. So I wonder if somewhere along the way, one of the many things I've taken out has lost the list of whitelisted setcomp things. And yeah, syscall 12. So we're saying syscall 12 is Burke. Well, we're not going to get very far if we can't call Burke. So that's obviously a problem. And let's go and see if we can't work out how, when we were running setcomp with the default Firejail profile. So it just says setcomp on its own. And then there's this includes, we've got the disable comment, which we're using. There's default local, globals local, which I did not find. And I'm assuming those are okay to be not found, because I'm presuming that's the file you create to override the local setup normally. I wonder if I've just gone too far. No, because we know, I was going to say, have I gone too far by like putting all these different extra things like no TV, no sound, all that nonsense. But no, we know that it works. It works absolutely fine as long as I don't put setcomp in. So I'm going to keep setcomp on. I'm going to get rid of the setcomp.keep. And I'm going to see if with setcomp on, but setcomp keep not not set at all, does that somehow cause it to be okay? Let's just run both of these again. So we're going to see. Yeah, we get a much bigger list here. Like, without me doing the .keep, we get this huge list of things that come up, and we're okay with without address sanitizer. I'm sorry, I'm starting to go crazy because I've been talking to myself for an hour and 15. So we're okay without seccomp, and we're not okay with seccomp. And if we go over to my varlog syslog, we can see that for one of the processes that run, that was okay, and another one was killed because syscall 101 was denied. So, but as soon as we say seccomp.keep, it seems to bring in a whole bunch of other defaults or overwrite maybe some keeps that are default keepings. So I wonder if there's a way to say seccomp keep, because so Christopher has said keep is only a whitelist. I think that might be something like that, Christopher. I think that's right. So multiple people here have just came up with the same thought, that the way that the seccomp keep, it sort of just makes it a whitelist instead of a blacklist, and we kind of want both. So let's go and read the manual, because that's the only way we're going to know for sure. Seccomp, enable seccomp filter and blacklist the syscalls in the default list at default. Okay, that makes sense. So seccomp equals syscall, at group, blackfault the defaults and at block secondary drop keep equals 6. Enable seccomp filter and whitelist the syscalls specified by the command. Syscalls needed by Firejail are handled with the preload library. Proctol. So that's an interesting one, isn't it? It's not immediately obvious to me, maybe I'm just dumb, how one might change this and enable seccomp and blacklist the syscalls in the default list at default to help creating useful seccomp filters more easily. Example. Blacklist the default list and the syscalls. I want to undo that. I want to just whitelist one. Grr. Yeah, I mean, I think, Oliver, if we were to do keep ptrace, brook, I think we'd just find the next syscall that we needed, that we would needed. Yeah, thank you, Christopher, for making me feel slightly better. Seccomp equals this, post it. Blacklist at default. Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be more tricky. Well, again, I think useful progress has been made. And I'm going to write a little comment here that says we would ideally allow ptrace to allow for address sanitizer stroke, I guess debuggers and stuff, etc. But can't find a way to blacklist everything in the default list except ptrace. Using seccomp.keep seems to turn things into a whitelist. We can go through the list of all of them. I mean, I can get it. We could probably output that default list somewhere. It's just weird that we've got this at default. And there's ptrace. I want to say, system calls, clock, CPU emulation, debug, default node debuggers, or node buggers. Sorry, childish. Default dash keep. In addition, a system call. What does that even mean? At default dash keep at module at obsolete. Useful more easily. So a GitHub comment about something similar, and they're just listing everything except the thing they want to keep. Not very handy. Yes, thank you, Oliver. That's it. Well, this is definitely a secondary problem, right? It's definitely, I want to make sure that this is as tied up as possible, tight up as possible. And you know, some of these things do make sense here. R-limit number of files and file size and nproc and things like that. So I mean, I think probably just while we're here thinking about this stuff, let's do nproc 4. I don't think we need more than 4 processes. Well, I may live to regret that number. That maybe something. So let's get rid of these to-dos, and I will feel a little bit better about the world. F size, maximum file size that can be created by a process. Presumably this is measured in bytes. So we're going to do, if you want to create a, sure, megabyte file, that's fine by me. So was that one? I exposed my. Sure, 1 meg. In fact, 16 meg. What the heck? That's the biggest single file you can create. Oh, I know that one. It's one of those funny ones that's easy to remember. R limit, no file. Maximum files that can be opened by a process. 4. That's all cool to do. Are these these appropriate values? Question mark. So let's go in. So that address sanitizer, I think is what I was going to do. Let's put to do up here as well. I like to use to do because it's greppable with git grep. Okay, we've done that one. I think I should put. Hopefully we can put comments on the line here. I'm not sure that we can, but let's do to do test a fork bomb. What the heck? Let's put it on the same line. We'll soon find out. Maximum files. Those look okay. And memory deny write execute. Let's give that a go as well. So we'll put that up here. No exec / temp. Now I think I convinced myself yesterday that we shouldn't use private bin. Private bin creates a new /bin and mounts it at /bin /sbin /user sbin and all the other executable places, and then copies only the programs in that you need. It's probably overkill, and it certainly would mean that the startup time is increased because we'd actually have to create a new temporary directory, copy all those files in, and do that. So I think that's okay. So Andreas's point, one can presumably get around limits by just doing lots of builds at once. There's ultimately, to some extent, yes. The architecture is such that there is a maximum number of builds that can be run by any node at a time. I throttle them, and I have a queue per process of things yet to run and execute. So it's a denial of service attack, certainly, and that's a problem. But you won't get multiple things running at the same time. As the CPU load goes up, more nodes will come in, and so eventually we'll have like 6 or 7 beefy AWS nodes all running whatever jobs you're submitting at the same time. But each of them is only running 2 or maybe 4 jobs at the same time in RAM, and they have their own queues. Now, part of yesterday's navel gazing stroke thinking was, how do we make that better? And having a queue, an explicit separate queue, and having multiple worker nodes that just pick things off of the queue when they're ready means that the work gets more evenly distributed. But the current system would be just to execute in place, which means that each of the web nodes will have a limit. And unfortunately, if the load balancer has steered like 5 expensive calls to the same node, then everyone who happens to also be steered to that node for their query is gonna suffer. So I think it'll need to change. But right now, I'm just trying to get this part done. This is like a very much a get the thing I think I know how to do done. And it's the more I do this, the more I realize I didn't know how this was done. Private cache. So anyway, private bin. I think we're going to be okay without having private bin. So I'm going to get rid of it right now. And that means that the /bin that's on the box that you're running on is available, but there's nothing in there, or there shouldn't be, that you need. But actually, I guess that. Maybe. What if we just have none? Let's try that. Right. Stopping. I'm going to leave that commented as it was before. Let me remind myself where we are right now. So let's let that go. Oh, and I'm running out of time. I have about 10 minutes. Okay, this one. That one works fine. This one returned 1. That's interesting. That's not what I was expecting. Encountered a fatal error. Leak sanitizer. Did I enable the leak sanitizer? What's going on? Things are going very strange here. I don't understand why that's suddenly giving me a different error now. That's confusing. Cleaning all supplementary leaks. A fatal error. I mean, presumably it's a different manifestation of the same problem, but I don't know. Oh no! What was the thing I did? Memory write and execute filter. Yes, you remember? So this is what I'm terrible. Let's just disable that again. Hello. And see if that is another thing, another nail in the coffin of address sanitizer. Oh, and I realise it doesn't. I don't have to reload anything when I change that configuration file. It's much quicker, haha, because it's just a file that's not a JavaScript file. It doesn't have to be compiled. Brilliant. 'Twas brilliant. Okay. No. Okay. No supplementary groups. Confused am I? Maybe it's some of those other restrictions I put in. Oh darn. Okay. Well, let's squish this up and we can fiddle with it far more naturally. Here's the sandbox profile. We can just reload and fiddle here immediately, and it takes immediate effect. So the things I just changed were all these things. Let's go and comment them out. Whoops. And reload. What do we get? We get school buses picking the kids up. 255. Excellent. Okay. So which of these is the one that's causing... It is nproc. Intriguing. Let us make this, say, 16. How interesting. I wonder what on earth restriction... Why that makes the leak processor, leak sanitizer, has encountered a fatal error. Oh, I mean, there it complains. I know that leak sanitizer complains if it can't get ptrace, because I've had that before when I've been debugging set UID binaries or others. Yeah. So I think like this is generally going to be a pain in the bottom. I'm just intrigued as to why it fails in different ways. Like with rlimit nproc 256, the program returns 255. I guess I could look in the log files, you know. So there's file log syslog, and we'll just reload this chap. And again, it's complaining. I'll follow the log. So there is syscall 101. That's the one we were expecting to see. That's because we know that the ptrace is blocked. And if I put the rlimit in as well, at a very high number, I mean, come on, 256. Really interesting. Yeah, does memory deny work now? That's a good call, actually. Let's see if it's a combination of these things. So I'm a bit bewildered now as to why this causes a different error, but nonetheless it's still filed under the if we want to get address sanitizer working, we should probably look at these again. So I should say to do test of fork bomb, and I should say to do asan or leak sanitizer. Asan bales with a different error if these are set versus just set comp. Lord alone knows if I'll remember what I meant then, but that's the problem with these things. Okay, so turn it off again for a second just to answer Olafur's question. So we're going to reload with that. We're still on 255 there, so memory deny write execute seems to fail in much the same way, and it's syscall 101 still. So that trumps the limitations here, whereas this returns 1. But this chat works here. I wonder if our system works. Can we still execute stuff? Somewhere in here is hopefully some output. Yeah. No? Does that not even work anymore? Program return 3? That's the right answer. We've got so much Firejail output now, I can't actually see whether there's any real output of the program itself. Flounder. Oh, it's over here. It's because it doesn't look the same as it used to. Exec.js. And, okay, let's get rid of debug and put quiet back in. Now, this is going to cause it to rebuild. So make sure I'm in somewhere where in a sane environment before the door goes and my kids come in. So let us try and recap what we have learnt today. We have learnt that Firejail continues to look like it's going to be a good technology. We might have problems with address sanitizer, and that will be a shame, but I think I can live with it for now and maybe come up with a more intelligent way of restricting what's going on. I mean, when ptrace isn't there, I know that the leak sanitizer complains. It may be some very subtle, weird startup ordering thing that changes when there's some kind of R limit on the process. It seems very weird, but I don't understand it. Let's just, do we get an ls working? No, system ls home did not work. Presumably because it's returning an error code. because who checks the return code from the system, right? Whoops. Let us printf %d, no. See if I care. Oh. Printf was not really. I thought something else would pick it up. I'm very lazy, aren't I? 11. All right, so we've got error 11. And this is where we need to do the no. I can do strerror, I guess, and whatever. No 11, but this is quicker. Resource temporarily unavailable. Presumably, yeah, that's saying, hey, no more CPUs for you. Let's bump up the number and see if we can't get this to work. Sandbox.profile. Binary search, anyone? Maybe I'm not allowed to do it. maybe system is not an allowed program. Let's see. Is it even this any of these R limits? Aha. Matthew and oo. Oh no, oo is what? Oh, gosh, yeah. Matthew is the contents of /home. Yes, thank you everybody. People are starting to sign off. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you everyone. But I'm going to keep going until the door basically goes because I'm really intrigued with this. And I want to get some understanding about what's going on. I wonder... let's see if it's that. Oh, I bet you it's no files. I bet you it's the number of files because, of course, each process needs at least 3. And so making a new process means more of those things are used up. No? Okay. It really is R limit n proc. That's bonkers. Why? 16 processes. I don't think R limit n proc is working, you know? Or else I'm completely misunderstanding how it works. Those R limits are indeed weird. Thank you. That helps me feel like I am not alone. So R limit as CPU nproc. Maximum number of processes that can be created for the real user ID of the calling process. Oh, I wonder if, like, because it's running as me, when it says the real user ID, does it mean the real user ID, like, you know, hey, Matt Godbolt's running all these other processes right now on his computer, and we can't have more than 16, and there's already more than 16. It doesn't seem likely, does it? But let's make it like 8,000 or 18,000. That seems like a high limit. I don't think I'm running 18,000 processes. Yes. Well, that's rubbish, isn't it? That is rubbish. I don't think I'm running 1,000 processes. Indeed, I'm not. We can do some kind of binary search to work out how many processes I'm currently running on my computer. Oh no, 11. So 1,000. 1,000 failed, didn't it? That's not how binary searches work. Land of primitive technology. Yeah, okay, so somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 processes. That would not be totally surprising to me to discover that I actually have got that. Well, 155 it says, but if we do with threads as well, I forget the flag for PS to do that. Maybe it's that. Yeah, the other process running VM. So at the moment where this is running just natively on my machine, my laptop, my as it stands right in front of me. So I think that's probably related to that. So I'm going to put a comment here and say rlimit nproc seems not to be as useful as we want. It seems, and let me put as much like unsurety in here, it seems to what? What does it seem to do? Count all processes created by the effective user, i.e. would be shared across yeah, exactly, so much for fork bump protection. Shared across instances. Uh-oh. I think the kids are about to arrive. I wonder if me namespacing those in some way. Let's just one last man Firejail before I have to go and let the kids in. Namespace. New mount and new PID and new UTS namespaces. Oh, hang on, that's the kids. All right, I will tell them to keep out of the way, but I want to finish this off. Not to listen too much to your crazy dad talking to himself. Oh, hi. UTS is, I think, just the clock namespace, right? Oh no, now my screen's just given up the ghost. I have a problem with my user namespace. That would be good. Namespace. IPC namespace. Join file system, join network, join or start. Network namespace, net filter. This is so many namespaces, but it's not a user namespace. No root with a single user, the current user. I think we have that in that list, right? No root there. So we are in a new namespace. So apparently that doesn't help us here. Requires Linux kernel version 3.8. Blah blah blah. The option is not supported for root and overlay configurations, but or for sandbox to start as root. Okay, well I think I'm gonna have to go because I think the children are causing more issue. Oh, it's all right, guys. So now my youngest is trying to shush my eldest because it's like he doesn't know that I'm streaming. So. This obviously has opened more questions, but some significant progress has been made, and I'm glad to say that I've made more progress, I think, than if I was on my own. So thank you very much to everybody, Christopher, Oliver, Andreas, and the others that have been chatting in the chat. I will continue on this and hopefully get this part sorted, and then I do need to go back and actually change the architecture of Compiler Explorer to take advantage of the new features that it'll have, and in particular, I don't want to have that horrible hack where I'm parsing out the directory name from the full path of the executable. I want to actually like bunch that whole package up and make it the home directory rather more explicitly than this in implied way. So, thank you everybody. If you want to keep up with this, I'll probably do another one maybe tomorrow. It depends. I have to check my calendar. I will announce on Twitter beforehand, and I will give as much notice as I can as well, but it depends on what's going on around me. But this has been a lot of fun, and some progress has been made, so hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I will maybe see you again.